All right, let's talk about KPIs, key performance indicators. For a lot of us, they're just about chasing targets and, let's be honest, judging performance. Today, we're going to flip that whole idea on its head, based on the brilliant work of Mohammed Ajluni. So if you're ready to turn your KPIs from a source of stress into a tool for real, actual success, well, you are in exactly the right place.
So let me just start by asking you this. Think about the KPIs at your company. Do they genuinely make you feel motivated to improve? Or do they feel more like a big old judgment tool? Now, if you've ever felt that pit in your stomach from trying to hit some metric that feels totally disconnected from your real work, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We're going to unpack that frustration and find a much, much better way.
So here's the game plan. First, we'll get into the real problem with KPIs as we know them. Then, we'll shift into a new mindset. From there, we'll walk through a super practical 11-step methodology you can actually use. We'll also cover how to read your data like a pro, what smarter reporting really looks like, and then we'll wrap up by thinking about your KPI story.
Okay, first up, let's get real about why the old way of doing KPIs is just broken. Because honestly, a lot of the time, the very things we use to try and drive improvement are the exact things holding us back. This slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? It's like two different universes. On the left, you've got the old habits, judging people, hitting targets no matter what, and freaking out over every little data point. But on the right, that's where we want to be. It's all about learning, improving, looking for patterns, and digging for the root causes. It's a huge shift from a culture of fear to a culture of feedback.
So how do we get there? The biggest piece of the puzzle is this. We have to stop measuring just the stuff we do and start measuring what we actually achieve. It's all about focusing on results, not just actions.
And check this out, it makes it so clear. On the left, you see actions, right? Like number of training courses. We get so caught up in measuring that, but what was the point? The real goal, the result, was to upskill the packaging operators. See the difference? Same thing with milestones achieved. That's just an action. The real outcome we wanted was to shorten the time from idea to product. One is just being busy, the other is making a real impact.
Part of the problem is the language we use in our strategies. I mean, come on, we've all seen these words a million times. Accountable, sustainable, transformational. They sound great, they sound important, but what do they actually mean? We call these weasel words. They're fuzzy, they're vague, and you can't really measure them.
So what's the fix? Well, it's about translating those weasel words into plain, simple language, into stuff you can actually see and measure. So instead of just saying you want to improve morale, you got to ask, okay, what's the evidence? What would I see that tells me morale is getting better? Maybe it's seeing employee turnover go down. Maybe it's absenteeism dropping. Those are things you can actually count. You need real, tangible proof. All right, so how do we actually do all this? Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the 11-step methodology. And this isn't about just picking some KPIs out of a hat. No, this is a step-by-step process that builds a rock-solid bridge between your big goals and the things you measure every day.
It all kicks off with step 1, define your results. You have to get super clear on your goals and write them down in a way that's all about outcomes, not just actions. Then, step 2, we brainstorm. Just throw it all out there, every possible way you could measure that goal. Don't judge the ideas yet, just get them out. Then, in step 3, we get selective. We pick the best measure, the one that's both super relevant to the goal and actually possible to track. It's got to be meaningful and practical.
Okay, so you've got a measure. Now what? Step 4 is a critical gut check. You have to ask, what are the unintended consequences here? What kind of behaviors is this measure going to encourage, both the good and the bad? Then for step 5, we decide on the frequency. How often are you going to collect the data? A good rule of thumb? Shorter is usually better. It helps you see signals faster. And step 6 is all about the logistics. You've got to define exactly who is collecting what, and when, where, and how they're going to do it. A clear plan here saves a ton of headaches later.
Now we're talking targets and ownership. Step 7 is setting targets, but not just one big scary number. Think about it in layers. An achievable target, an intermediate one, and then a stretch goal. This encourages continuous improvement, not just hitting some static number and stopping. And step 8 is absolutely crucial. Assign a single KPI owner, one person. They are the champion for that metric. They update it, monitor it, and report on it. That way, there's no confusion about who's responsible.
And finally, we bring it all to life. Step 9, we monitor the KPIs using a special tool called a process behavior chart, and we're going to look at that in just a second. Step 10 is about reporting. We're ditching the boring spreadsheets for a dashboard that actually tells a story, giving you context and insights.
And step 11, this is how you close the loop. We reward people not just for hitting a number, but for the results of their efforts to improve. You celebrate the learning, the progress, the whole journey.
Okay, so I mentioned those process behavior charts. To really get what our data is telling us, we absolutely need this tool. It's the key to separating a real change, what we call a signal, from all the random, everyday ups and downs, which is just noise.
Look, every single process has variation. It's just a fact. Common cause variation is the predictable, routine noise that's just always there. But special cause variation, that's a signal. It's something different, something exceptional, caused by a specific thing. The whole secret to great management is learning to ignore the noise and pounce on the signals. Take a look at this chart. See how all the little dots are just bouncing around between those two red lines? Well, those lines are the normal limits for this process. This is what a stable, predictable process looks like. All that movement inside the lines, it's just noise. If you react to every single one of those little dips and spikes, you are wasting your time, seriously. But now look at this. Whoa, see that one dot that's shot way above the top red line? That is a signal. That tells you something different, something out of the ordinary happened right then. This is the moment to hit pause and ask, what on earth happened here? This is what deserves your attention. Investigate this. And this is where the magic happens. On the left, you see a process that's stable, but maybe it's not performing as well as you'd like. So you make a change, a deliberate intervention. Now look at the chart on the right. The entire process has shifted to a new, better level. It's stable again, it has its own noise, but the average performance is just fundamentally better. This is what real data-driven improvement actually looks like.
So what does this all mean when it's time to actually report on performance? Well, it means we get to move away from confusing spreadsheets and the simple red, yellow, green reports and move towards something that tells a real story.
Check this out. This is what it looks like in practice. For each goal, you see the chart that instantly shows you what's happening over time. But it's so much more than that. Right next to it, the dashboard explains the why. It tells you the likely cause of any signals and suggests a clear response. It answers the questions that actually matter. Do we need to do something, or do we just keep an eye on it? It turns data from a puzzle into a clear, actionable story. So, if there's only one thing you take away from all this today, please let it be this. The whole goal here is to shift from judging people to learning about and improving the process itself. It's time to stop using data as a weapon and start using it as a flashlight to light up the path so we can all get better together.
And you know, that really brings us to the final, most important part, which is all about you and your team. What are you going to do with this? Where do you go from here?
I'm going to leave you with one last question to chew on, to take back with you. What story are your KPIs really telling right now? Is it a story about fear and blame? Or is it a story about learning, about curiosity, and about genuine improvement? You now have the tools to write a much, much better story. Thanks for hanging out with me. Now go write that new story.